12 unpleasant things older women do that no one talks about. It's an unspoken truth that as we grow older, some of our habits can inadvertently create distance between us and others, often without our awareness. Do you find yourself committing any of these offenses? Sapphira, 67, had always viewed herself as a beacon of warmth and hospitality, until she began to sense a growing distance from those around her. From excessively correcting others to harboring resentments, these behaviors could be contributing to a sense of isolation that isn't necessary. Sapphira, 67, devoted countless years to her profession as a nurse, consistently prioritizing the needs of others. She believed herself to be warm, kind, and brimming with wisdom. However, recently, there has been a shift. Connections have shifted, calls from friends are less frequent, dialogues feel briefer, and family get-togethers carry a different atmosphere. Initially, she dismissed it. Everyone seems to be caught up in their own whirlwind, don't you think? Yet, beneath the surface, she couldn't dismiss the nagging sense that something was amiss. One afternoon, following yet another cancelled coffee date, she began to ponder. Was it possible that her actions were the cause? Some behaviors, actions she never considered carefully, could be driving others away. What's the most frustrating aspect? She was completely unaware of it. Sapphira stands in the company of others. Numerous women inadvertently cultivate habits that foster separation rather than intimacy. However, there is a silver lining. Once you identify them, you can transform them. When you take that step, connections deepen, and life regains its richness. Stay with me, as the 10th point is often overlooked, but it truly has a significant impact. If any of these resonate with you, feel free to drop a yes in the comments below. Before we get started, if you find this useful, please give it a thumbs up. It truly bolsters the channel. And remember to subscribe for insightful guidance tailored for the older generation. Let's dive in and begin. Sapphira has consistently placed a high importance on intelligence and precision, often leading her to overcorrect others. In her years as a nurse, accuracy played a pivotal role in her professional journey. Errors were simply not permissible. That perspective accompanied her in daily life, where she found fulfillment in assisting others to achieve success. Whether it involved refining someone's grammar, verifying a casual narrative, or addressing a small error, she felt she was contributing positively. Yet, as time passed, she began to observe something unusual. Interactions appeared more distant, and individuals seemed less inclined to connect. One day, her granddaughter paused, weighing her words with thoughtful consideration before she began to speak. When Sapphira inquired about the reason, the young girl replied, "I don't want to express it incorrectly." That struck her deeply. It sparked a curiosity within her about how many others experienced similar feelings in her presence. In reality, ongoing adjustments, regardless of their good intentions, can diminish a person's sense of worth. The focus transitions from building relationships to evaluating and analyzing. It's never pleasant to feel as though one is treading carefully, constantly worried about uttering something inappropriate. When individuals sense judgment, they tend to retreat. Sapphira understood that she faced a decision, to be correct or to be compassionate. Rather than immediately offering a correction, she opted for a different approach. The next time her friend stumbled over a word, she just smiled and absorbed the moment. When someone shared a story that wasn't completely accurate, rather than correcting them, she inquired, "That's an intriguing viewpoint. Share additional details. What are the outcomes?" Dialogue became more inviting, and individuals shared more freely. She wasn't merely listening to words, she was forging a genuine connection. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? Perhaps alongside companions, loved ones, or even those we don't know. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It truly enhances the channel. Next, we shall delve into the subsequent habit, one that is often quite simple to miss. speaking more than hearing. Sapphira has always been a weaver of tales. Years filled with experiences, insights, and knowledge. She delights in sharing them. Whether it's guidance on nurturing children, navigating relationships, or maintaining wellness, she views each dialogue as an opportunity to assist others. One afternoon, while sharing lunch with an old friend, she observed something that stirred a sense of unease within her. As she recounted her recent journey, her companion maintained a steady nod, offering a polite smile. Yet her gaze wandered off to other places. As Sapphira concluded her tale, an uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Her friend looked at the clock and remarked, "I suppose it's time for me to head out." This was not the initial occurrence. Recently, meaningful discussions have been few and far between. There was a palpable sense of urgency among the crowd to conclude matters swiftly. Sapphira pondered, was she being overly verbose? The reality is that regardless of how captivating our narratives may be, if we take control of the dialogue, others begin to distance themselves. Everyone desires to be acknowledged, yet when a conversation seems lopsided, it can become draining. Rather than engaging, some may perceive themselves as mere observers. Sapphira chose to embark on a new adventure. The next time she encountered a friend, rather than steering the conversation herself, she inquired, "What's something exciting happening in your life at the moment?" And when they spoke, she remained silent. She allowed pauses to stretch, demonstrating her complete engagement. The change was instant. Her friend radiated excitement, revealing insights that Sapphira had never even imagined. The dialogue unfolded effortlessly, and for the first time in ages, it resembled a genuine interaction, rather than merely another narrative session. Allow me to pose a question for your consideration. When was the last occasion you genuinely absorbed what someone was saying, rather than merely anticipating your moment to respond? Have you ever found yourself expressing more than necessary? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. And stay tuned, as the next habit is one that many engage in unknowingly, subtly eroding their confidence. Sapphira has always held a strong belief in the importance of politeness, often to the point of over-apologizing. Apologizing came effortlessly. It demonstrated a sense of modesty, compassion, and thoughtfulness. However, she has recently observed something peculiar. In the grocery store, she softly murmured an apology as her hand extended toward a can of soup. During the call, she expressed regret for occupying time with what she considered a straightforward inquiry. Even during family dinners, she found herself apologizing for going on after sharing a brief tale. Suddenly, her friend interrupted her, cutting her off in the middle of her thought. "What's the reason for your apology? You haven't made any mistakes." That moment struck her deeply. She was completely unaware of how frequently she engaged in that behavior. Excessive apologies may appear innocuous, yet they subtly convey a deeper message. That you think you're a bother. It causes others to perceive you as lacking confidence, even if that's not your intention. And perhaps the most detrimental aspect is how it erodes one's sense of self-worth. Sapphira resolved to embrace a transformation. Rather than apologizing for her tardiness, she opted to express gratitude for their patience. Rather than apologizing for her inquiry, she expressed gratitude for the assistance offered. The change was subtle, yet impactful. She observed that individuals were reacting in varied ways. Discussions seemed to have a greater equilibrium, and she exuded a newfound confidence. Consider this: do you find yourself apologizing even when it's unnecessary? Consider substituting it with appreciation instead. A minor adjustment can lead to significant impact. And remain by my side. The next habit is one that many individuals are often unaware they engage in. Yet it gradually distances itself from others. Excessive criticism. Sapphira had always held the conviction that being truthful was the most virtuous approach. If her friend donned a dress that didn't quite suit her, she'd nonchalantly bring it up. If her daughter presented a dish that was overly salty, she would provide a brief critique. Upon witnessing someone make a decision she found disagreeable, she would express her perspective. Isn't that the essence of what compassionate individuals embody? However, on a particular day, an event unfolded. She ventured out on a shopping trip with her niece Amelia, who chose a vibrant jacket. Sapphira scrunched her nose in distaste. That color doesn't quite compliment you. Though intended as constructive guidance, Amelia's smile dimmed. She returned the jacket and remarked, "I truly liked it, however." That moment lingered in Sapphira's mind. Were her remarks causing others to doubt their own judgments? Were her candid thoughts causing more damage than benefit? She began to notice how frequently she provided feedback that was unsolicited. In reality, excessive criticism, even when meant to help, can foster separation. Even the slightest remarks can erode a person's self-assurance. Feeling judged is something that no one appreciates, and excessive criticism over time can lead to a reluctance to share one's thoughts and feelings. Sapphira established a new guideline for herself. She only speaks when her words are kind, necessary, and helpful. Rather than criticizing Amelia's decision, she might have expressed, "If it brings you joy, then you should definitely wear it." Rather than making remarks about Amelia, she might have just savored the experience. And an intriguing event unfolded. Her connections flourished. Individuals found themselves at ease in her presence. Dialogue unfolded with greater ease. In that moment, she understood that often, the most meaningful way to uplift another is by allowing them to embrace their true self. How about you? Have you ever found yourself sharing your thoughts without being asked? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. And stay tuned, as the next habit is something that many women grapple with, often without realizing the extent to which it impacts their happiness. Once vibrant and engaged, Sapphira now finds herself withdrawing rather than connecting with others. Her calendar was brimming with weekly coffee dates, phone calls with old friends, and spontaneous lunches. However, recently, circumstances had shifted. The phone rang less frequently. Invitations grew increasingly scarce. As the weeks drifted by without a word from anyone, she found herself questioning whether people had simply ceased to care. Initially, she reassured herself that everyone was simply occupied. Life accelerates, and the younger generation carries their own obligations. Yet, as the days passed, a sense of isolation began to settle in. She navigated through the endless stream of social media posts. Observing friends gathered, questioning the reason for her exclusion. Have they overlooked my presence? Then, one evening, following yet another solitary dinner, an idea suddenly came to her. When did I last make contact? She came to the understanding that she had been in a state of anticipation. Anticipating a call from someone. Anticipating an invitation. Anticipating the moment when a connection will effortlessly unfold. As we age, it's a natural progression for our social circles to become smaller. It's a common misconception that everyone is managing well. Without voices raised, connections wither away. However, the essential distinction between solitude and connection lies not in who initiates the outreach. It's about the choices you make. Thus, Sapphira made the choice to experiment with something. Rather than sitting idly for her friend Lillian to reach out, she took the initiative and dialed the phone herself. "Hello, I would be delighted to have lunch together this week. When do you have some time available?" Rather than pondering whether her neighbor would extend an invitation, she confidently approached their door and declared, "I just made some tea. Would you like to accompany me? What are the outcomes?" Everyone was delighted to receive news from her. Many believed she was occupied as well. And just like that, her schedule started to become busy once more. Not due to a sudden shift in others, but because she transformed. Here's a thought to ponder. When did you last take the initiative to connect? Have you ever caught yourself in a state of hesitation rather than moving forward? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Stay tuned, as the next habit could be the very thing holding you back from moving forward, often without your awareness. Nostalgically lamenting the past. Sapphira cherished the art of reflection. She would recount tales of a time when children roamed freely outdoors rather than being glued to their devices, when neighbors greeted one another by name, and when genuine conversations flourished instead of mere text exchanges. For her, the past seemed more vibrant, uncomplicated, and preferable. Yet, during a family gathering one evening, she observed something intriguing. As she began yet another tale of days gone by, her granddaughter Ivy let out a sigh and looked at her phone. Mira offered a courteous smile, yet chose not to reply. The atmosphere in the room changed, as if they were all too familiar with the words being spoken. The moment hung in the air. Later, she caught Ivy murmuring to her mother, "I understand, things were better in the past, but it leaves me feeling like my life will never measure up." That hurt. Sapphira had no intention of causing anyone to feel that way. Nostalgia, in its essence, is a captivating beauty. However, when we repeatedly discuss how things were superior in the past, it conveys an unspoken notion that the present falls short. Those in their youth may sense an overwhelming pressure to meet expectations, believing their experiences will never hold the same depth or thrill as those we cherish from the past. As time passes, those discussions create distance between them. Sapphira came to understand that she required equilibrium. Rather than merely reflecting on the past, she began to fully welcome the now. When Ivy presented her with a new song, rather than lamenting that music was superior in her time, she inquired, "What do you love about this song?" When a friend mentioned a new trend, rather than brushing it off, she expressed curiosity and said, "Tell me more, I'd love to understand it." And a shift occurred. Discussions deepened, individuals revealed more of themselves, and she uncovered surprising delight in recognizing the positives of the present, all while maintaining a fondness for what had come before. What about you? Have you ever found yourself dwelling more on the past rather than embracing the present? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned, as the next habit could be quietly sapping your energy, often without your awareness. Sapphira had always held the conviction that wisdom was a gift of time. She had navigated through challenges, absorbed valuable insights, and discovered what was genuinely important. When younger individuals shared their struggles, she frequently reflected that they seemed unaware of true adversity. One afternoon, she found herself in a conversation with her grandson Theo, who expressed his feelings of stress regarding work and the pressures of social life. With a deep breath, she let out a sigh and remarked, "You have no idea what stress truly feels like. In my youth, we didn't have the privilege of voicing our grievances." Theo fell silent. The dialogue concluded swiftly, and later, Sapphira observed that he hadn't shared as much with her. That evening, she pondered over their conversation. Had she truly brushed aside his emotions? Did her words leave him feeling invisible? Each generation encounters its own set of challenges. They simply vary. When we express sentiments such as "the youth lack understanding" or reminisce about how we faced greater challenges in the past, an unseen barrier is formed. It leads younger individuals to believe that their experiences are insignificant, and gradually, they cease to share them. Sapphira resolved to alter her strategy. The next time Theo brought up work and stress, she didn't brush it off. Instead, she inquired, "What's the hardest part for you?" When her niece brought up social media drama, instead of rolling her eyes, she leaned in and said, "Tell me more. I seek to grasp the essence of that experience." Then, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. Family members who are younger began to share their thoughts once more. They welcomed her into their realm, confided their aspirations and challenges, and sought her counsel, knowing she would truly hear them rather than overlook their words. Here's a thought-provoking inquiry. Have you ever found yourself pondering whether the younger generation truly understands the world around them? What if, instead, you inquired, what's significant to you these days? What you discover may astonish you. Stay tuned, as the next habit is one that can gradually sap the joy from your life without you even realizing it. Sapphira once had a passion for fashion. In her youth, she possessed a keen sense of color, carefully selected her accessories, and consistently took pride in presenting herself at her finest. Yet, as time passed, a shift occurred. She began to place comfort at the forefront of her choices. Casual sweatshirts took the place of fitted blouses. Her everyday choice became those worn-out shoes. Searching for new garments seemed utterly futile. In the end, who was she really aiming to captivate? One afternoon, as she strolled by a store window, she caught a fleeting glimpse of her own reflection. The woman gazing back appeared weary. Not only in her demeanor but as if she had subtly withdrawn her concern. The realization struck her with an intensity she hadn't anticipated. The reality is, personal style transcends mere vanity. It revolves around honoring oneself. When we cease to invest in our self-presentation, it quietly conveys to both the world and ourselves that we have surrendered. This influences our confidence, mood, and the manner in which others engage with us. Sapphira chose to implement a subtle alteration. She purchased a vibrant scarf, nothing overly fancy, just an accessory that made her feel polished. She began selecting outfits with purpose. Not for anyone else, but for her own sake. The outcome? She experienced a sense of buoyancy, an invigorating energy coursing through her, and she observed a shift in how others interacted with her, offering compliments and engaging more deeply in conversation. When you feel confident in your attire, it radiates outward. Here's an idea. When was the last occasion you donned an outfit that genuinely uplifted your spirits? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. And stick around, as the next habit is something that can subtly influence how others perceive you without your awareness. Sapphira had always held a deep conviction in the principle of fairness. She held on to the memory of any wrong done to her. She was not one to raise her voice or plot retaliation, yet she held on to her memories. Throughout the years, a series of minor letdowns accumulated. Her closest companion never expressed regret for not attending her birthday dinner. Years ago, her sister uttered a painful remark, and her neighbor once borrowed her cherished book, never to return it. She convinced herself that she had moved on. Yet beneath the surface, she bore those grudges as if they were unseen burdens. Each encounter with those individuals brought forth a flicker of lingering resentment. Interactions seemed rigid. Connections stayed far apart. Unbeknownst to her, she was the one enduring the greatest pain. One evening, as she immersed herself in a documentary about longevity, a thought suddenly resonated with her. A researcher noted that harboring grudges increases stress levels and may even reduce lifespan. That night, Sapphira lay awake, contemplating whether she would allow past hurts to rob her of tranquility. The following morning, she resolved to take action. She would opt for tranquility rather than seeking validation. Rather than holding out for apologies that may never arrive, she chose to let go of the resentment for her own well-being. She reached out to her longtime friend and said, "I've missed you, let's reconnect." She reached out to her sister with a thoughtful message, leaving the past unspoken. As she encountered her neighbor, a gentle smile graced her lips, and she effortlessly released the book from her thoughts. Letting go of anger proved to be a more valuable choice. Then, something extraordinary unfolded. Her energy transformed. Connections that had previously seemed tense regained their warmth. Not due to the changes in others, but because of her own transformation. In reality, holding on to grudges serves no purpose in affecting the other individual. They impose consequences on you. Consider this: is there a lingering resentment that you haven't let go of? What might unfold if you released it today? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. And stay tuned, as the last habit is one that can quietly take away your happiness without you even realizing it. Embracing the role of the victim. Sapphira devoted her entire existence to nurturing those around her. Throughout her life, she consistently prioritized the needs of others, first as a nurse, then as a mother, and now as a grandmother. "Could you do me a favor?" She would definitely agree. Looking for a babysitter on short notice? She would call off her arrangements. She held the conviction that embracing selflessness was the moral path to take. Yet, beneath the surface, a sense of bitterness was brewing. Though unspoken, her longing for recognition of her sacrifices lingered in the air. In the silence of neglect, she sensed a profound lack of recognition, as if she were fading into the background, unseen and unvalued. One evening, after a long day of running errands for her family, she finally sank onto the couch, utterly drained. She reached for her phone and noticed a message from her daughter. "Hi Mum, would you be able to look after the kids again tomorrow?" "No, I appreciate it." "No, how do you feel?" Simply another request. Sapphira experienced a surge of irritation. Why is it that no one recognizes the effort I put in? Suddenly, an intriguing idea struck her. Had she ever shared that with them? She consistently wore a smile and replied, "Certainly." She always embraced possibilities, never turned anything away. How could they possibly understand her feelings of being overwhelmed if she never confessed to it? That evening, she vowed to herself, "No longer will I assume the role of the victim." She would establish limits and grant herself the time to recharge, free from any feelings of guilt. The following morning, when her daughter inquired once more, Sapphira took a different approach. She mentioned that she enjoys being with the kids, but she has commitments for tomorrow. "Let's discover another day that suits us." To her astonishment, her daughter merely replied, "Oh, okay. I will seek assistance from another individual." Without anger or disappointment, there lies a straightforward resolution. That moment transformed everything. Sapphira came to understand that prioritizing her own well-being was not an act of selfishness, but rather an essential part of her life. When she honored her own needs, others followed suit. What about you? Have you ever experienced the sensation of pouring your heart out, yet feeling invisible to those around you? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Declining to explore new experiences. Sapphira had always been resolute in her beliefs. She dined at the familiar eateries, indulged in the same television series, and adhered to the well-worn patterns she had followed for years. She didn't have an aversion to new experiences. She simply couldn't grasp the rationale behind altering what felt known and secure. One day, her friend Delphine extended an invitation to a painting class. "It'll be fun," Delphine insisted, yet Sapphira lingered in uncertainty. "I don't consider myself an artist. I might not do very well at it." She nearly said no, yet something held her back. When was the last occasion she ventured into uncharted territory? Thus, she agreed. As she stepped into that classroom, a sense of alienation washed over her. The brushes and the blank canvas felt entirely foreign. As she dipped her brush into the paint and made her first stroke, an unexpected twist unfolded. She experienced a vibrant sense of existence. The anxiety dissipated, giving way to a subtle thrill she hadn't experienced in ages. By the end of the class, her painting may not have been flawless, but that was of little consequence. She had shattered her own routine. Routines offer a sense of solace. However, they can also create a sense of stagnation in life. When we cease to explore new experiences, we gradually diminish the expanse of our existence. Such circumstances can render existence more confined, duller, and lacking in thrill. Following that class, Sapphira vowed to herself. Embrace the power of agreement more frequently. She ventured into a new restaurant, embraced a card game she had long shunned, and even enrolled in a dance lesson. With each new experience, she felt a sense of lightness, a deeper engagement, as if a part of her had been reawakened. Here lies your challenge. Embrace the opportunity to try something new this week. It doesn't need to be grand. Perhaps a fresh recipe, an alternate path for your stroll, or a pastime you've yet to explore. Break free from your usual habits and experience the difference it brings. Have you ever challenged yourself to explore uncharted territory, even when it seemed daunting? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. And keep an eye out, as the last habit could be the very thing that's preventing you from fully embracing life, often without your awareness. Steering clear of challenging discussions, Sapphira had long held the conviction that certain subjects were better left in silence. She sidestepped challenging discussions, not out of indifference, but to prevent any potential discord or unease. She skillfully avoided conversations about finances with her children, fearing they might perceive her as a liability. She kept her health concerns to herself, not wishing to cause anyone any distress. In moments of reflection, she concealed her regrets, acting as though they were mere figments of imagination. Yet, evasion carried a price. During a family dinner one evening, her daughter Mira brought up the topic of retirement planning in a casual manner. "Mom, have you considered what you envision for the future?" Sapphira swiftly shifted the topic. Later that night, she caught a glimpse of Mira leaning into her husband, her voice barely above a whisper, expressing a longing for deeper conversations between them. "I prefer not to speculate when the moment arrives." That moment struck with intensity. In sidestepping difficult discussions, she was not safeguarding her dear ones. She was shrouding them in shadows. The reality is, steering clear of challenging subjects won't make them vanish. It merely generates lingering uncertainty. Whether it's delving into financial strategies, expressing end-of-life desires, reflecting on past regrets, or addressing unvoiced apologies, the burden of unspoken words can significantly impact relationships. Sapphira understood that every journey begins with a single step. Rather than confronting all her challenges simultaneously, she decided to document a single conversation she had been putting off. The following morning, she took a seat beside Mira and remarked, "You inquired about my future plans. I believe it's time for us to have a conversation." That singular step transformed everything. As she shared her thoughts, a sense of relief washed over her. To her astonishment, her family was eager to engage in these discussions. They felt no fear towards them. She existed. Here lies your challenge. Identify a challenging subject that you've been steering clear of. Perhaps it's a dialogue about finances, a long-awaited expression of regret, or a talk regarding your well-being. No matter what it may be, initiate the journey, for the most challenging discussions frequently hold the greatest significance. Have you ever delayed a discussion that you were aware was necessary? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Initially, Sapphira doubted that minor adjustments would have a significant impact. As she began to modify her routines, an unexpected change unfolded. Responses varied among individuals. In moments when she embraced silence and allowed others to share, the exchanges took on a richer, more profound quality. As she released her grudges, the weight of her relationships began to lift. As she began to focus on her own needs, a sense of vitality returned to her life. One afternoon, while enjoying a cup of coffee at her favorite cafe, she observed something she hadn't seen in quite a while. She felt acknowledged. Not due to a need for attention, but because she embodied presence, intention, and a willingness to evolve. Growing older isn't about fading into the background. It's about embracing purpose. The manner in which we present ourselves to the world influences how others perceive and interact with us. What's the most exciting aspect? Change is always within reach, no matter the time. If any of these habits struck a chord with you, consider it a cue to pause and reevaluate. Not from a sense of obligation, but from a position of strength. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Which of these habits do you see in yourself? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe for more insights on aging gracefully after 60.